About 2013, we started talking about asset, and people are still hungry. The banks don't have money. The liquidity situation has got worse. Companies are closing and have been closed, and companies have been sold for a penny. At a disadvantage, our companies are being sold to foreign entities. Companies are the basis of creation of the money, the day-to-day money that we use. They are the basis of the accumulative production and consumption that creates our wealth. Without an industrial base, the country cannot stand. We are now at that national complementary movement of our society, that the complementarity, in other words, the production that we do together as a nation determines the quality of our life. And now we have MDC with their plan that cannot be enacted until they get into power, if they get into power. And we have recently, I think, NDP used to be MDC with BT, and we have another MDC, and now we have the People's Party. Where is this all going to take us, my brothers? Who has the plan? I want to say this, that in economic development modeling, if you don't have the architecture, a clear picture with a vision and a strategy and a budget and a way of institutionalizing the change, and unless you decide at a time when nothing is moving, when you can't solve your problems, you need to move from one paradigm to another. And the only way to do it is to re-entrepreneur, to reinvent, to create a new vision. The new vision, reinvent Zimbabwe into this $600 billion country in the next 30 years. We empower industry by brand leadership, brand architecture of adopting and adapting to where the world is going. Adopt. I have a lips. Adopting massive brands, a wide array of brands that have already been tested and used. We come and plug and play and model them up and move our country forward. The only way right now is to have this vision that says we want Zimbabwe to be a great place in Africa. It is possible. It has the capacity. And in 30 years, we can certainly set that base for a $1 trillion country. But in the next 30 years, between 560 and $600 billion can be achieved, because Zimbabwe at this moment, in this time, is $200 to $300 billion undervalued. South Korea, with only 5 million people. It started when its educational or professional footprint is nowhere near where Zimbabwe is. We are more educated professionally and more experienced professionally and able to run massive projects. Our people are running cities and massive projects, billion-dollar projects outside. When we come and unleash this one Zimbabwe, one productive force, massive force to drive our country forward, it's possible for us to grow our country into a $600 billion country, but in 30 years. But somebody once said economic growth is proportional to the capital input. $4 billion from Asset won't do it. Asset is like going to Mazoe, to the orange field, and get oranges, harvest oranges from one plant, and then trying to make orange juice for the whole nation. Asset has limitations. I'm not condemning it. I'm just describing it from a scientific point of view, from a mathematical point of view, from a scope point of view. We need to get together, brothers. There's no ZANU-PF, there's no MDC, there's no NDP, there's no People First, there's only one Zimbabwe, one people. This political system, this democratic, foreign democratic system, needs to be restructured in a way that is in a way that it addresses the needs of the people. It allows the people their power, their freedom, and their ability to drive their dreams, and therefore drive their legacies. That is the Zimbabwe that we need now, and the only way is the plan that I have put together that says the vision is to grow the Zimbabwean economy in 30 years to the $600 billion, because Zimbabwe is undervalued. By a reinvention process, reinvent Zimbabwe process, using a re-engineering and re-entrepreneuring strategy, a re-engineering strategy that says we smash what doesn't work, we smash what is outdated, and tap into the future. Let our processes be determined by where we want to go. Somebody said, start with the end in mind. Start with the end in mind. So our strategy is to re-engineer. We crush the old and usher in the new. Who should be against that? Who could be against that? Our template, our market template, our industrial template is a brand leadership. In other words, we lead by brands. We have a brand architecture. We sit down and say, which are the brands that will drive the growth of our economy? Which brands can we start with? Then we fund them. And I'm saying to you, there's a way that we can start with that $60 billion that we need, so that we can have $10 billion for the water in Bulawayo and make it an industrial center. And address our agriculture and quickly reinvent our agricultural process, our agricultural economy, and manage our resources in a way that empowers us to create the foundation that we need. And how we manage our political systems to the extent that Zimbabwe becomes a magnet to attract huge, massive banks and capital into Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe becoming the financial center of Southern Central Africa. That is the God's plan. And that is the organizational science of economic development. We start afresh on a clean piece of paper. A new Zimbabwe, a great Zimbabwe is doable. But we have to have this gene, this meme, this togetherness, this oneness that is soared between and along and among each and every one of us. This duality, this division, this MDC, this ZANU-PF, it's a myth. We are Zimbabweans, one Zimbabwe, one nation. God's plan, only God's plan, divine science will get us where we need to be.